everybody. Welcome to the January 2019 podcast of the BrownieKnits Knitting Video Podcast. I am Gina, also known as BrownieKnits, and this is Lorelei. She's rather sleepy this morning, which is pretty normal for her. She usually starts her day around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. She's kind of a leisurely little girl, which is quite fine with me. But anyway, welcome back to the podcast if you're a returning viewer. And if you're new to the group, welcome in. Welcome to all the new people who have joined on the BrownieKnits Ravelry group and have joined in our Gilmore Girls inspired dishcloth, washcloth knit along for 2020. I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second, but yeah, I've been so excited to see people excited about the knit along and meeting new friends and reconnecting with those of you from before. So, all right, let's get started. What do you say? Get started? Okay. So she'll lay down on my lap, go back to sleep probably. So to recap, for the Gilmore Girls cloth inspired knit along for 2020, on the first of each month, I will release a free cloth pattern that is inspired by the show The Gilmore Girls. And that will be released in Ravelry and BrownieKnits.com. And you can just download the free patterns from there. If you want to join in the discussion and chat, you can join the BrownieKnits group in Ravelry, and there will be a thread each month for us to discuss the various cloths and encourage each other and see each other's finished projects and that kind of thing. So there is no like official way to sign up other than like joining in the BrownieKnits Ravelry group. And then we are on social media using the hashtag Gilmore Cloth Cal. So Gilmore, CLOTHKAL. So for January, we had this cloth, which is the I Smell Snow cloth, and that is inspired by Lorelei, not my dog Lorelei, but Lorelei Gilmore from the show, inspired by her love of snow and the fact that whenever she thinks it's getting ready to snow, whether the weathermen think it or not, she smells snow and she'll say, I smell snow. So we have a little snow flake motif in the center, and then the duplicate stitch on the I Smell Snow. So a few people have had questions about the duplicate stitch. Duplicate stitch is super easy peasy. So as you knit the cloth, you just knit them as knit or purl stitches as instructed, which is usually knit because you want a flat surface. And then you take your long piece of, in this case, blue yarn and a tapestry needle, and you just go in and you stitch over the V that makes your knit stitch. You go in the center of the V below, and when you come up, you just trace your 2 legs of your V. And there are tons of videos and tutorials online on how to do it, so I didn't feel like I needed to create another one because there are zillions out there. But I will say, I like to start from the bottom of a letter and then work my way up. It just is a lot easier that way. And I actually, a lot of times will start from the opposite side. So instead of starting from the right side, I'll start from the left side and then work through. And I will say that I anticipate that we will have another duplicate stitch cloth in the future, but I'm not sure which month yet. So anyway, you could do it out of just the white. And that is, I just used it's a dishcloth, so I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it. So I just used 100% cotton Lily Sugar and Cream in the white. It takes 1 ball of that, and then obviously some blue. Save your blue. You can use that in a cloth later in the year. The other option you can do is you can hold your cotton yarn with cross stitch yarn. So see the skein, it takes 2 of these. I know that some people were confused by reading the yardage on these. No, it just takes 2 of these, so it's not that expensive. You can hold that with the white cotton to get a scrubby yarn. So it I wanted to do it because I thought the glitter would give you like this effect of snow. And then you can have like a scrubby exfoliating or scrubby cloth for your dishes. Sorry, I have little notifications showing up on my phone and it drives me nuts because I can't see the whole screen when I do that. Okay, so that is January. And then in February, so what I'll do is in the January episode, you'll get a sneak peek of the February cloth, February, a sneak peek of March, etc. So for February, you will need 1 ball of cotton yarn, of the Lily Sugar and Cream cotton. And then you have another option that I'll get to here shortly of something that you could add on if you want. So since January was inspired by Lorelei, and yes, my dog is named Lorelei after Lorelei Gilmore. That's actually her full name as well, with our last name on the end. So every time I say Lorelei, she kind of reacts. But since January was inspired by Lorelei's love of I Smell Snow, I felt it only fair that in February we give a little bit of a nod to Rory. And as I mentioned in the January sneak peek that I did in December, not every cloth is going to be like hit you over the head. This is from the Gilmore Girls. Some of them, if you're a Gilmore Girls fan, you will recognize it. But if you're not a Gilmore Girls fan, you'll think it's a pretty whatever cloth. So for February, this one was inspired by Rory, and it is Rory's cabled hat. And you'll remember this from when Rory was wearing it around town and in the Jess years. So if you're Team Jess, this is one that you'll see little snapshots of Alexis with Milo in the stills for this hat. So what I did was just kind of duplicated the effect of the hat in a flat cloth. So this is the front side, back side. And in order to get the hat shape, I did a traditional, so you're going to use a size 5 needle here at the bottom for the rib, and then a size 7 needle here at the top for the top of the hat, just like you would in a normal hat. It does have cables. The pattern is both fully written and fully charted, so you can work from the directions however you're comfortable. And if you haven't done cables before, this is actually probably a good one to start with because it's just very simple cables. So these 2 outside cables are just your standard, very basic cable, just facing in opposite directions. And then the center one is just a few more stitches than the outside ones. And you always twist your cables in this pattern. All cables are twisting on the same row. So if you haven't done cables before, it's probably a good one to learn on. And then I thought, what else can I do to this to make it a little extra special? And this is the color, by the way, I think it's hot purple. I thought, what could I do to make it a little bit extra special? So she hardly ever growls. She's growling at something outside. Yeah, luckily she's not like Lorelei in the show. She doesn't usually talk that much. I think she might be proving me wrong here because she hears something outside that she doesn't like. But anyway, Lorelei, lay down. Hey, watch me. Watch me. Lorelei, shh, hush. So I added on a scrubby at the top. So you could either do a small loofah or you could do like a dishcloth scrubby, which is what I have here. And this one is just out of the same cotton yarn in the red color. And then I just sewed on to give like a pom-pom effect in case you wanted to add like a little something extra to the pattern. That was kind of fun. So there you go. That is the February cloth. It's Rory's hat cloth. So I'll put the link to it into the thread when it's ready to be downloaded. And again, that will be on February 1st. All right. So that's our Cal update for the month. And then yesterday, January 15th, I put up the new for sale pattern, my Hawthorne pillow pattern that I mentioned and showed in the last podcast episode. Here it is. It's a Hawthorne pillow. On the back, you just have garter. It's an 18 by 18 inch pillow form. 3 skeins of Malabrigo Rios. And then the front is 2 different kinds of cables. The outside cables, does it smell interesting, Lorelai? The outside cables are like little braids, and then the center cable is a Celtic knot. And yeah, I just love this pillow. If you are someone who is local to me, I live in Westfield, Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. The Village Yarn Shop in Zionsville, I'll be dropping off that pillow there this weekend, and then you can see it in person if you're interested in that. So yeah. And then in February, I thought I'd give you guys a sneak peek of my new design that will be coming out in February. And it is a hat design. So one of my cabled hat patterns that I released prior to taking my extended break and then relaunching BrownieKnits is the Raleigh Brin hat. And that is named after my little nephew on my side of the family. And it's out of a worsted weight. You can use, I think it uses Anzula for better or worsted. But you could also use Malabrigo, Rios if you wanted to do that. Anyway, I wanted to do, ever since I designed that hat, I wanted to do a version of it that was a little more feminine and out of fingering weight. And so I named this hat my great grandmother. So my grandmother's mother, so great grandmother. Her nickname, from what I've been able to tell in Ancestry, was Tempie. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to name it after her. And then, you know, the one that's kind of the brother to the hat pattern is what would have been her great-great-grandchild. So this is the Tempie hat, and it uses not even a full skein of a fingering weight yarn. So if you have like a sock yarn that you just love, it would work well. I used one skein. I did one hat for myself, this one, and then I did one hat for my little niece Ella, and hopefully there's a little picture here of her modeling it. And I used one skein of Leading Men Fiber Arts in their fingering weight yarn, and I think the color was Fog. It was really funny because I also, for hers, I used Yoshi and Lucy yarn, I think on their Isabel base, and it also had the word fog in the name. So one of them was Fog and one of them was like Stormy Fog or something like that. I'll put it in the show notes and along here below in the caption. But yeah, that was funny. And then it has like a huge pom-pom on top. This one, actually, the pom-pom snaps off, which I really love that when a pom-pom can do that, because then when you're washing it, you don't have to worry about fluffing it back out and all that stuff. So anyway, here I'll pop it on so you can see it on. And it's meant to be kind of slouchy, so it's a little bit oversized. Anyway, you can see the various cables. So you start with like a simple rib here at the bottom, and then the various cables go up, and you decrease down following the cables. So like it goes all the way to the tip of the center, and then you have this big fluffy faux fur pom-pom, which is kind of fun. Yeah, so that is the Tempie hat. It'll be available right around Valentine's Day, so February 2015, or February 15th, 2020. Went back in time, 2015. All right, so there are all the BrownieKnits things that I had to show you this episode. So now that my hair is probably really messed up, I'll get into some other things. But before, as I do, since my hair is already a little bit of a mess, I did have like a non-BrownieKnits knit that I just made for a friend of mine from college. She lost her father, and instead of sending flowers and stuff, I like to send people some made items, and I think about them while I make them. So I made her this little hat, this little beanie. It's a kind of a copycat version of that CC beanie that you see everywhere, but I added like this huge, again, faux fur pom here on the top. The yarn is a leftover skein that I had of Malabrigo, Rios, and Ravelry Red from my peppermint throw that I showed in the last episode. So yeah, I hope she likes it. That'll get off in the mail to her soon. We went to Indiana University, Bloomington together, so it's in our little crimson, so hopefully she enjoys that. All right. Next up, I thought that I would take a couple minutes and show you something that I got for Christmas. Let me put my glasses back on. I got rather blind while I was on my extended break. Anyway, I thought I would show you what I got for Christmas and give you a little bit of a review, because this is something a product that just came out on the market that, unless you're in the city where the company is, you can't really go and like see it in person. So I thought I'd just give you my honest review of it. So what is it? First of all, it's this maker's case from Namaste, which is sold by Jimmy Bean's Wool, and mine is in the black. Lorelei wants down. There we go. And again, it's the maker's case. So Namaste used to exist a long time ago, and then they were out of business for a while, and then Jimmy Bean's brought them back. And when they did, they brought out a train case, and I loved the train case. So a year and a half ago, I got the train case. So this is the Namaste train case. This is in the color blush. I will say I expected it to be more of a pink. It's more of a lavender. And there is a lavender that is more of a purple, but I thought blush was gonna be more pink, but I like it anyway. My biggest complaint when I got this, I have two criticisms. One, it really needs feet on the bottom, but quibble. And then my other thing is it has a yarn feeder here at the side, and I don't know if they need to put like some kind of wire here or what, but my yarn always goes off to the side and gets caught underneath where the train case top should meet the body. But again, those are sort of quibbles. Otherwise, I really, really, really love the train case. And it's incredibly roomy. It's much bigger than I thought it would be when I saw it online. So you can see like, it's kind of like 2.5 heads of me. So it is pretty big. It's pretty deep. I loaded it up with yarns that I got for Christmas so that you could see how much it can actually hold. So there's a little bit of space in there, but I have in there this Spun Right Round in Jubilee. Isn't that gorgeous? That was from A Knitter's Life. And then London House Yarns. This is, I think it's their Christmas colorway from a couple years ago. Victorian Christmas card, which is, it's really beautiful. And then 3 skeins of Queensland Collection Rainbow Beach to make a night shift, I think is called, what it's called, shawl. Actually, I think it's not for the shawl. I think it's for the cowl. But anyway, so it can contain just tons. So it had 5 skeins, really 6 skeins with the mini, of yarn in there. So it's very deep. It comes with a snap, one of their snap bags. And it also came with some magnetic little things. What did it have? It had a little booklet. Yeah, if you go on their website, you can see what all it comes with now. Because like I said, I got this a couple years ago, so I'm not sure exactly what it comes with currently. But the inside of it is really this nice velvety feeling, like crushed velvet material. And it just stands up really well. But you can see like see where the yarn has pulled it down over time? But anyway, I really, really love this. So then for Christmas, I asked Santa, oh, by the way, thank you to Carol for the London House yarns and the Queensland yarn. So I love this one so much that I thought when they came out with the maker's case that I wanted a maker's case. Because after I got the blush in the train case, they came out with black in the train case, and I thought about getting just another black train case. And then I didn't get around to it, and then I saw the maker's case. And honestly, I would not have ordered the maker's one for myself, but for Christmas, I was like, okay, you know, like it'll be in our budget. So it was my big gift. And my poor husband, like I had sent him the link and said, here it is. And it was in stock when I sent it to him. And then when he went up to order it, it said that it wouldn't ship until January. And so he was like, oh no, that was the thing that she wanted the most. Oh, so he like did some other things instead. And then a few days before Christmas, they posted that they came in stock and they were shipping early. And so it came, I think, like maybe even the day before Christmas Eve or something like that. It was really close. So, all right. So I ended up getting the black one since I was considering the black train case anyway. It has, first of all, let me say, like, it is heavy. Now, I do have it packed full of stuff, but even when it was completely empty, this thing is so heavy. So I don't know that I would be, like if I was going on a road trip, knitting road trip with the girls, and we were driving, I would take it. Would I fly with it as a carry-on? Never. Would I take it to knit night? I took it to knit day with Christina the other day just so she could see it because she wanted to see it in person. But will I take it to knit night with knitting groups? Probably not, because it's just heavy. It's just super heavy. But because I do Brownie Knits as my business, I do love it having it around my house. So like if you're someone who just wants to put everything in one spot and be able to quickly move around your house and have everything that you need, it's perfect. They did, I don't have, see those openings at the top, the yarn feeders at the top? So I don't have problems with that in terms of it, like going off to the sides. It stays in those yarn feeder holes. I honestly think that's because of gravity, because I don't really feel like they did anything differently outside of that. So I feel like just because they're on top, it just behaves a little bit better. So that's good. And you have two of them. I'm going to open this up. So it has like this little, you can turn it that way to lock it and then unlock it and pull it back. Okay. So when you open it up, ooh, the sides have like this protectant clear plastic on the two domed sides, which is very good. I sort of wish it came out more because the velvety, lush fabric that's used in the train case, maybe it's just because one's pink and one's black. This one just feels different to me. It doesn't feel as nice. It feels cheap and it feels just not, it just doesn't feel right. And it's black, so it attracts everything and gets dirty. And I didn't think about that beforehand, so that's on me. But like even these little inserts that they have, because you have these little drawers, the inserts, I'm just gonna I'll take this one out. The inserts aren't even finished on the bottom side. So you can see it's just a cardboard covered with a very thin, cheap, velvety-esque fabric. Okay, I'll never get that back in the slot while I'm holding it like this. It's just too heavy, so I'm just gonna lay that to the side. But anyway, so you have like, imagine there's one in its slot here. So you have these slotted things, and then you have over here, you have them into just different squares. These then open up All right, so then they open up and you have drawers below that. And you can see the drawers there. Those also, one of them has dividers and the other one is open. I gotta be honest with you, a couple of the divider areas have slots where you put the dividers in and they stay. And then some of them, the dividers, even though they're slotted, they move around like crazy. They will not stay in place. And it drives me bonkers. I don't like for my food to touch on a plate, so it drives me nuts when like things are put in certain areas and then all of a sudden they're together and the squares are wonky and all that kind of stuff. But anyway. And then below, you have this huge storage area below. So you can see like that whole bottom section is your big storage area below. And I do have it packed full. I have designing pages and pattern pages and just all sorts of stuff in there. I don't want to show this to you because it's a future cloth month. We'll just show it like that. That's a future cloth month for the Gilmore Girls project. I'm not going to say what this is because it's a surprise for somebody, but there's another project. Here's a future design that's packed full, and you do get one of these snaps. Comes with this one. This is the size that came with the maker's case. The train case comes with a different sized one. It was maybe a little bit taller, maybe not as long. I have some Doctor Who themed socks. This is Brenda and Heather yarns, so BAH yarns, not to be confused with the other BA yarns. I think this one's called something about the shirt because it's the new Doctor. I have another sock design project going in here with matching yarn. That's down there. I have a huge stack of journal stamps down there. And because I'm designing a lot right now, I like to keep certain sized and certain needles with me versus in my needle cabinet. So I have a bunch of needles in there. I have another faux fur pom for use on a project. And I have the little accessory case that I bought to go with the maker's case. I'll get to that in a second. When you buy the maker's case, you also get this little booklet. It's tiny. And it's a little dot booklet. I'm using it to just write down keep track of my 2020 knitting and crochet projects. You could use it really for whatever. And it also comes with this little Namaste case, and it has a tapestry needle in it, as well as like a few open stitch markers, so like that you could use for knitting or crochet. So here, let me lift it up one more time so you can see how deep that goes. And I left one of the stencils there so you could get the depth. So there you have it. It fits a ton. Would I buy this again? Yes. Would I buy it for the amount that that my husband purchased it for? No. And here's why. This drives me nuts. So it's closed and it's sort of flush on that side, right? Look at that. Can you see how, yeah, there you go. And we contacted Jimmy Beans about it, and they said, in order for this to close and work properly up top, there had to be flexibility So it's not actually a defect of the manufacturing, it's part of the design. I believe that they believe that. I also think that maybe the design should have been rethought a little bit more for the price that they're selling it for. So, again, would I buy it again? Not for the price, but that's my quibble. That might not bother you at all. So if it doesn't, there you go. What I would do is buy the train case again. So there you have it. There's my take. As one of my side gifts, Patrick got me the matching little case. And like I said, when Namaste was out years and years ago, I worked at a yarn shop where we sold them. And I had one of these. And it looked about the same size when I looked at it online. But when I got it, instantly I was like, ooh, it's really cushy, which you would think is a fine thing. It doesn't matter, right? But then I was like, okay, how deep is it going to be? Because the other ones, the old ones, were pretty deep. This one isn't very deep at all. Like, you basically just can lay things in there. The only reason there's stuff staying up here, I have a few magnets that I just threw in there so that I could use both sides more effectively. But like you can see, it's like basically the depth of this tiny little row counter is the depth of each side. So on my old one, I had so much more in there. In this one, I'm even afraid to put scissors in there along with everything else because it would take up so much room. If you had the little like snip scissors, you'd be fine, but a full size little like embroidery scissors, I don't even think it would fit lengthwise the ones that I have. So that was a little interesting. I don't know, a little torn about that. But so I am happy now with my maker's case. I use it every day and I'm very happy with it and I love it. I just wouldn't spend the same amount of money with what I consider to be a quibble about it that I don't like, to be nice about it. All right, so that's all the knitting stuff that I had to share this month. I did say last episode that I would talk a little bit about the books that I've been reading. So I did open up a thread. Nobody else has posted yet, so maybe you guys aren't interested in it, but a reading book thread on the BrownieKnits Ravelry group. My goal in Goodreads this year is 65, and I finished 3 so far for January. Before January hit, though, I finished this one last year, A Stranger in the House by Sherry LaPena. I love her. So this is not her newest book, but it was the only one of hers that I hadn't yet read, and I just gobble up every book of hers very quickly. So I was excited when I realized I had somehow missed this one, and so Santa brought this in my stocking, and I zipped through it at the end of the Christmas holiday. And then after that, what did I read this one? No. I don't know. I think I'm missing a book. Anyway, then I read The Unhoneymooners. So I always thought I was not a romance book person, but I think what I wasn't was a Harlequin romance book person. Contemporary romance to me is very different, and I'm finding that I enjoy that quite a bit. And I would kind of put this, even though it was housed in fiction, I would put it in contemporary romance. It's The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, which is actually 2 authors, Christina and Lauren, and they write together. And it was just really, it was like a laugh out loud, feel good book, which I read a lot of mysteries and thrillers and true crime and stuff. So it's kind of nice to have this type of book to kind of break things up. Yeah, those are fun. And speaking of true crime and mystery and stuff, I just finished Chase Darkness with Me by Billy Jensen. And if you are a podcast listener, you have probably heard Billy on a lot of different things. It's pretty popular for a lot of podcasts to have him on as a guest, but he also does the Murder Squad podcast with Paul Holes, and Billy actually helped to finish Michelle McNamara's book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, which is a fantastic book. If you like true crime, it was just a really great read. And he tells the story about like how that all went down and other crimes that he's been involved with solving or trying to solve. So it was a really interesting read. If you like the Murder Squad podcast, you would like the book. And then tonight I have book club, and our book club book was The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, and she is another author just like Sherry LaPena that I absolutely love. So they're mysteries, but they're kind of maybe psychological thrillers is probably where they're housed. And I loved this book. I thought it was really great. So I'll find out tonight if everybody else in book club agreed or not. But I read a lot of her stuff. I have a couple that I haven't gotten to yet that are on the bookshelf, and it's hard for me not to just like put other books aside and just go straight to all of those and read them all in one group. But I want to like savor them. So anyway, that's what I've been reading. And I know there was another one, but I can't remember what it was. And I think I liked it. I don't know. Anyway, so I hope that there was something in this podcast that you enjoyed. And you can find me on Instagram as BrownieKnits. On Facebook, there's a BrownieKnits Facebook page. And then we also have the BrownieKnits group in Ravelry, where you can download any of my free patterns. You can also purchase patterns that I've designed there and talk to us about the Gilmore Girls knit along and all that stuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you again in February. Bye-bye.